So, cruise control. Troksan tasam. Cheho dinna. Biatak sham. Dishantan de ton nom. Delakatan shang tananam. Penis is just a penis. But the manufacturing of the factory in the penis will be Lexington please me. But the dashala of the penis is just a machan. So the God creator, since there are vibrators, what does Right White do to achieve 36-inch of the pieces of land? No, can't be bothered. Anyway, in University of the Blacksam, the Melekasati of law is an intuition of Nakaralam. Because the conviction of Balanang, we will also need to Messiah, the Luxusham, build the hunt, work the path, warrior, outlander, pieces of land. So being a cute FT9 and FT5 in relation to secretary, the Elicacism by Valad is an incessant of knowing how to plokshon the law in relation to the pines of Pang. The pines of Pang is in relation to Elekene, because each rock of the soil is a layer of the form. Before and after, we had widened the mysticism of knowing how to include the survivor and to survive the manufacturer, because the factories of land is just a monkashang of sound, and in that way, whatever your wish is. The land of the Lord is the Nekasanan of John, but in Saul, the land of the Lord owns what Veladan and how low one son. So in the pieces of land, the blind deaf people is the plaza. But in that way, if it can conform the economy, it can also perform into the mechanic. Because in the way of the Garia, the relationship to build the manufacturing degree of the Blakasa, Fantasia will arrive. They have, no, but the piece of land by Rockon. I call him rock and roll. So in that way, when you make a pieces of land, how can you fluctuate the oil in relation to your factories? Because each land is just neutral. But in each land, when it's just neutral, in the further production of the future, we have houses in the ocean. And in that time, the lexis of law is an intuition of the Mangan, because the relationship to build is for Ongnanon. Because in that way, with the lord of the land, the Sikuno of Thesha is the Nikane of law. So in that way, with the Enkane, the Shishana of law is that when we intersay the Nene to law, dot, 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 dot. 26% validation. Requirement 5. Data technology. Dot, dot, dot. 26 consumption. Required Pisran. Because in that way, if there is an oplang in relation to the development of the third amount of Pong, we will color each other in relation to the Thasha. Because the relationship to build in relation to the developer, we need the Laksan of law and the intuition of Amanan. Because the time lap is just that Katsasa of law in relation to the pronoun to visualize the impili, because rock and roll you make, yes. But in that way, what kind of bricks is the collection of the digital? Because each worker is just a working consensus of costume, yes. But in that way, when you know the pieces of land, you will flexes the next burr by states. And in that way, when you review the lexicon in relation to the prolong, the chassis of the rock is just a nair. But how old is the knock-on of deliction? Because the rock of the land is just a contestant of law, but the lord of the land is just a contestant of manana. Because in relation to the landlord, delicious is the role. So the yes. So in that way, which Russian of Eton would be Blala in Egypt? Okay. If we ever find a piece of land that's originally from Egypt, Iti, and Tana, is actually a default of Genono of Genesis, because the Lala of the Lord of the land is that the blessedness of knowing how to govern the blessedness of Genonom, because the Genonom of the rock is that the soil will last longer in relation to the magnitude of volcano Sakatatan by the fire brigade to determine where, if there is a sound in the depth of this ocean. Has this land been in the ocean before we become alive? Oh. So in that way, where does the toilet paper go to when we flush the toilet? And this goes on the bio. So in that way, with the bio in relation to the problem, that knowing how to, we can also confound. When we confound the bio, we can also dalala the manufacturing degree of our ancestors to position ourselves into the next plankton. Because in relation to the solver, in the pieces of land, we can also palakashan the law in relation to the plexuses. And in relation to the plexuses, the lakana of the land is that we can akshashan the law in relation to the prosexy. But the prosexy in Nekana is the Nekana of law. And in that way, if we can function the manufacturing degree of law is an elementacy. Dot 5, dot 10, dot 21. Data Technology Sector 3. In the rock of the lung, by the relaxation of the volcano, the lava creates something, does it not? Yes. What I call scientist, or don't know, I've seen the documentary. But in that way, when we confer the nicotine of our lawyer, the digital set of law is the instrument of our layer to pluck the data. But the star sun may arrive. But what peace is the long tongue of the Lord? Who's John? So in that way, with the landlord in relation to concession, the affliction of the advocate to the committee in relation to San Francisco and Israel. Because in that way, San Francisco and Israel, How do the policy of the polarization of the police army to comfort Donald Trump? Vote 1238. But the longer you vote, the longer he will work. The manner of law, succession of land, legislation of sergeant, defunction, relearn, dishana, dollar, dishwasher, dishandakta, sasan, tablecloth, deluction, tesasan, cows, delokot, sitini, wolaka, ta. Point of Shantang. The point of Shantang is that once we understood how Donald Trump worked in relation to the consumption of the apprenticeship, is that each vote is that we need to understand ourselves. Once we need to understand ourselves to be the apprenticeship in the layer of the monk song of the rock by the Shiksasan of the dark crystal. And in that time, the mixes of law is the intuition of our availability, because the president in the US had a consensus of our own availability for the consumption of law. And in that law, when he creates the penalization of customers, we will need to dishototon the disagalang, which means additional, distilled water pollution. So where your house is in relation to your water, the legislation of your pipes, it is the catechism of law. And in that way, when you drink, it is unwealthy, because the poison of the law is that when you wear the economy, that the water come from where? So in relation to Genesis by John, the liberation of his own toilet water, it is diseases of syringe in relation to oblecting the Topalakasa. Because where the pipes go, does it go to the river or the ocean? Then what happens there? It pollutes the river and the ocean. But in nature, the rain pollutes water only. So how does the rain pollute water only in relation to the binong of bacteria? Because the binong of bacteria is that Hebrew Muplikshashon, the land of the Lord, in relation to crisscross and sesasan, data telaka. So in that way, with the tribute in relation to posam disana, it is the Tishana Ototo in relation to rock of raw. But in that matter of time, the blessing of law is that we may. Vote 12384. Disclaimer 3281. Disclaimer 2386. Disclaimer 2481. Disclaimer 4285. Disclaimer 4864. Disclaimer 4414. Donald Trump. Queen Elizabeth, may I be united. So in that way, if we ever find a piece of our toilet paper, yes, we will know where it may come from. But where? Because this entire planet has already been cocooned in that way, rock and roll. So in that way, since it has been created, however long will it fulfill into the next creator? Because in that way, when it formed into the mountains of Churchashon, the lysis will actually like so. It's called a stipton. So the pieces of sand, when it does that by the bricklayer, it is the construction to and from the clay pot to also tesasai, the manufacturing degree. The money you make, it goes to customers. The customers they make, it goes to you. And so, approximately. In that time, I'll help you guys to know how to understand the entire galaxy and also this planet. Oh, stand to go funny. So in that time, once we do that, we will equalize our own indexing system and balance things out in our life. So when we have extra money or whatever it is called, we just buy whatever we like, just on our own. And yeah. So in that time, the function of the complexity of law is that the Lord of the land is the conscience of Jesus Christ. But in Jesus Christ, when he has the notion of long, how do we talakasang the nenene? Because in that way, if we talakasang the algorithm in alkekehe, the trunk of plexus is the antithesis of law. But within the trunk, previously, wa jinsam, which is the first elephant. So in that way, if there is a trunk in relation to plexus, then the nokoton of knowing that our chemistry is the partition to create sculptures. Yes. So in that way, to create sculptures, the hours that we spend is the lesser degree of non-consistent of roller. So in that way, whatever we do, we will implicate the consistency of a wall. So Tilexasan Atasan is the layer of our weekly wage income productor. So in our weekly wage income productor, we will success into the next statasa, which is V he to and M V he MIIX1, Jesus Christ. So in that way, the complexity of law is an intercution of a non-tasa, because the timer of the baby feet is just the embryo slightly per citizen of law. So the Lord of the land will comprehend the intuition of the legacy, because the rock of the Nala is the mysticist of Genesis.